Well, I just beat the computer game Mouthwashing. It has recently become a little bit of like hit a little infamy because of some of the things that the creatives behind the team have said vis-a-vis like politics and culture and who they want playing their games and who they don't, things like that. But I really didn't pay that much attention to it. I had already picked up the game on a Steam sale, so I was kind of curious. I heard it was short and you could beat it in one sitting. Just never really felt like sitting down and doing it, to be honest. But I did it this morning. I recorded the whole thing. I might put it up on the channel at some point, but it's only like 2.5 hours. And to be honest, it is super boring. So it's really not that fun to watch. I tried recently to do like Still Wakes the Deep because I expected that to be a lot more interesting. And it's, again, a walking forward simulator with very little interaction. So you really got to ask yourself, like, what is the point of mouthwashing? Well, it's supposed to be psychological horror. You know, you play as a crew stranded on a planet over a couple months, and the only thing you have to drink is mouthwash. And it just is, everybody sort of stays in a perpetual state of drunkenness. And there's a lot of like, what is actually happening? Is this happening? They jump back and forth a few times between before the crash, after the crash, a few days ahead, a few days back, just to kind of like mess with the timeline. And some of it's interesting, some of it's not. You know, some of it is, if it was told in chronological order, would have played out with exactly the same kind of, you know, pop as it would have if like there's this one part where it's like, why don't you have the isopropyl alcohol anymore? It's like, because we put it in a cocktail. And then they do a flashback to, how do we get past this guy who's been drinking a lot? It's like, maybe we make a cocktail. I'm like, you could have showed me these events in order. It wouldn't have really changed anything. The end of the game really kind of puts its head up its own ass with a bunch of this like creepy imagery and things happening just to happen. And it's just not my favorite segments of the game. I think with a 2.5 hour runtime, sort of, you really could have framed it a little bit more like a movie. Like there's some character stuff is a little flat, and it's left a lot to suggestion as well, which is fine. Anya being pregnant, it is heavily implied that Jimmy forced himself upon her, and that's how she became pregnant. She's afraid of him, doesn't want to talk to him. She mentions there's this part about a gun later, but as to why like Curly would put up with it, because they're old friends or something. Like, I don't know why Curly is like it's his pride as a captain, but he lets Jimmy go into the cockpit and crash it as opposed to just holding him accountable or throwing him in a brig or putting him in a cryopod or something. Anything would have seemed to make more sense than simply just letting Jimmy go in and crash the ship. It doesn't make any sense, right? I don't know. Maybe it's just the weakness of his character. The responsibility, taking responsibility is a big thing they keep repeating. So maybe he thought it's his responsibility to do what? Stand by and let Jimmy crash their ship to avoid like a rape charge when he comes back to the back to Earth. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. Maybe it was about his weakness and something like that. And it's just, the game's not for me. I found it to be incredibly boring. They think they're being clever at times, and it's just, I just didn't care for it. I know a lot of people out there really like it, and I don't know quite what they took away from it that I missed. Maybe I missed something. I don't think I missed anything. I just think the game it's impressive for like a little PS1 style indie game in that regard, but it's like, there's not a whole lot going on. It's not very subtle. At one point, you have to literally descend stairs into madness. Like, it's just, I didn't like it. It was very cheap, inexpensive, I mean, but it's not for me. So I don't know if you guys have you guys played this game? Have you watched anybody play it? What'd you think of it? I equate it very similar to Still Wakes the Deep. Interesting premise, pretty cool atmosphere, but ultimately you're just walking in one direction, clicking buttons, and by the end of it, it's who cares? It's a who cares adventure that I probably won't remember very long after now having beat it. So anyways, let me know what you thought about the game. Thanks for watching.